want to show you a very simple sourdough feeding recipe, but I also want to show you how I get the discard out of the jar. And I don't just mean like with a spoon, it's how I do this, because to me this was one of the most complicated things when I first started with sourdough about a year ago, was understanding how much to leave in the jar. So this is Ernie, and he's already been fed because I made bread today, but I want to show you guys why I measure the jar, okay? I don't want to feed him in a different jar today. I don't want to have to clean all this out and everything. I just want to use this jar again. But when I go to weigh this jar, I'll take the lid off because I do not account for the lid when I'm measuring or weighing. When I weighed this jar yesterday, which you should see that video at some point, I know that this jar weighs 432 grams. And for my simple sourdough feeding recipe, I know that I need 25 grams of starter in this jar, which means that the total weight of my jar should be 457. Now, when I weigh this jar, it's gonna weigh everything that's in here. And if that's the case, I'm either gonna have to take everything out and clean it completely to get an accurate 25 gram weight, or as I'm taking it out, I just know that I need to get the jar to weigh 457 grams in order to contain that 25 grams that I want to feed Ernie. Okay, so I've got this utensil here that will help me take the discard out. The discard I'll use for pancakes, waffles, crackers, any sort of baked good or bread, any of that, okay? To turn the scale on, you just hit the power button. And I'll let you know what this weighs now. Okay, we're weighing in at 602 grams. So I know I have to keep taking sourdough starter out of here until I get to 450 grams. This jar right here is what I'm gonna use to hold the sourdough discard in. So I'm just gonna put it to the side, and I'm gonna take some of this out. This is active and bubbly and light since I just used it for feeding, okay? We are at 559 right now, so I know I can just keep taking that out of here. And if you join me in my other video, we know that what we're going for is a huge heaping tablespoon. We're at 421 grams. And if you're not wanting to measure with a scale, there are people who don't do that, and I admire them. I think it's absolutely amazing. But I kind of like having that guidance. Kind of like when I'm baking, I like knowing this is going to be a teaspoon, this is going to be a tablespoon. We're at 493. So not quite 50 grams to go, but close. And welcome if you're just joining me. I'm showing you guys how I weigh the jar, and I don't have to clean everything out and restart with a new jar. I know what it should weigh to keep the 25 grams of sourdough starter in here that I want to feed. All right, we're at 478. It's really taking quite a bit out of here to get to the 25 grams. Okay, we're at 466, so probably about one more time. Oh man, 463. And I know this does seem like quite a bit of work, but for those of us who don't have it down yet, how to just pour it in and eyeball it and walk away, this is kind of helpful for us. Okay, we're at 460. Honestly, I would just leave that. I feel comfortable with having a little bit of extra, but for the sake of this video, we will get it exact, okay? We're close. The sourdough starter gets all over the jar, which is why it takes a while, because every little bit of this weighs in. I said for the sake of this video, we would keep it, but We're not. We're at 4:59. Okay. Sorry, let me wash my hands real quick. Okay. Now, just to recap, we measured this jar already. I didn't want to clean everything out and start with a new jar. I just wanted to refeed Ernie from this jar. So I knew that it needed to weigh 457 because I took the weight of the jar before anything was in it. I added the 25 grams, which is part of my simple feeding recipe. And then I knew that equaled 457. So take this out because I was not accounting for this. We are at 458, which I think that'll be just fine, okay? Now, I'll go ahead and finish the feeding with Ernie today just to show you. Timing-wise, it's 5 o'clock. That's not ideal because it's gonna be feeding for about 8 to 12 hours, which typically, you know, if I do this at like 9 o'clock at night or something, that's a better time frame, but it's okay. We are gonna be adding in 125 grams of water, and we talked about this before. If you don't want to weigh with a scale, what you're looking at is about a half a cup of water. Filtered is what's recommended. Sorry, I have to focus. I don't want to go too far over. 124. Okay, and this is a gurgle pot, in case you've never seen one of these before. Makes that super cool sound. Okay, that is 126, which I think will be fine. Now what I'm doing right now, I'm tearing it down, which means I'm putting it back to 0. So now I'm just gonna take this. It's nice to have something skinny to put in here, unless you have a wide-lipped jar, which I don't have any wide mouth jars. I might, but they might be in the freezer with something else in them. So I'm just stirring this water around into the 25 grams of starter. And again, that was my biggest point, was to show how I knew how to figure out that amount without cleaning out the entire jar and restarting with a new jar, because I like to just kind of keep using that same jar over and over again and then putting my discard into a different jar. That way I'm not making as many dirty dishes. Okay, that's stirred around good enough. Next, I'm gonna tear it down to 0. We're gonna add in our food. This food for Ernie is a ratio of a little bit of rye, about 100 grams, and then 900 grams of bread flour. I mix all that together in a separate bowl, and then I just keep it in this lovely, beautiful container for whenever Ernie is hungry. This is also going to be 125 grams. And again, if you're not sure about working with the scale yet, we measured this out the other day and it can change. I mean, that's the thing with measuring cups versus weighing on a scale for baking, but it was right over 3/4, closer to 1 cup. So that gives you an idea of how much food would go in here. Okay, and I'm gonna use a spoon to do this. 1, because there's not a lot of space up here, and 2, you kind of get to 125 quicker than you think, and it would be really difficult to remove the flour. Not so much the water, you can kind of pour that out, but it's kind of difficult to remove the flour out of the jar. So right now we're at 111, 121, 22, 125. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stir this around. It makes a very thick batter is what this looks like. Very thick batter-like consistency. This has really worked for Ernie for the past year. He has maintained a very healthy life. He's been nice and stretchy and healthy this whole time. He likes his food. I only do this once a week typically, unless I'm baking like more things, but We like to just have one loaf of bread, which is really difficult to not eat all in one setting. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You think it is healthier, and it is, but I don't think eating a whole loaf of anything is gonna be healthy. So we gotta get that under control. We've gotten better, but we're still not that great at it. Okay, I'm gonna show you so you can get an idea of see that? Show you a little bit more. Okay, so this is a real thick, like, batter. And then what I'm gonna do is just lightly, it's kind of hard to do on camera because I get dirty hands. Oh, also a side note, if there is this much like starter on here, I try to make sure that I, one, get it back into the container as much as possible, but two, this stuff will like harden up, and that's one thing that you do not want in your kitchen pipes. So if my utensils look like this, I go ahead and just wipe them off with a paper towel to get most of that off of here so that it's not hardening on or in my sink or in the pipes. My husband thanks me for that. So anyhow, that's it for feeding Ernie. Oh, I forgot to show you this. So what I'm gonna do is just put this lid on here real loosely like that. And then I'll set Ernie over here on the counter for 8 to 12 hours. He's gonna get big and bubbly, turning into this delicious, healthy bacteria that we can use for baking and other things later on. Not gonna mess with him. That's it. We don't really want it to go over 12 hours because it will overproof, I think is the right word for that. So, let me know if you have any questions about this. I try to simplify it as much as possible because it is very confusing. It was also confusing for me at first because everything that I did, you know, was with measuring cups and tablespoons for 40 plus years of my life. So this was a little bit different for me. But if you found value in today's video, make sure you hit that like button and then hit subscribe for notifications and things like that if you want to see more delicious recipes, daily life ideas. And I'll see you guys next time.